Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Rambling Rant Review. This episode we will be talking about RWBY, Volume 3, Chapter 8, Destiny. The story is finally moving forward, and it seems here, as we get into it, Yang might be under house arrest. Ironwood is inside telling the girls what's what, but he has guards positioned outside of her door. Now, here, as he's talking to the team, we see both sides of James Ironwood. You hear the calm, clear headmaster of his academy, yet he is still a stern leader of a military.
But I wasn't—
That's enough!
Now, I understand that Ironwood is responsible for the security of the festival after kind of usurping Ozpin from it, but I don't believe it's actually his full-on place to be giving Yang the bad news that she's been disqualified. Ozpin is still their headmaster, and he should be allowed to do that, or at the very least, be present for it. What we all know as hallucinations caused by Emerald semblance is now being written off as stress-induced hallucinations. Ironwood explaining that even the top soldiers can experience them.
When you're out on the battlefield, your judgment can become clouded in an instant. Sometimes you see things that simply aren't there.
Ironwood exits after saying his piece, leaving the team to discuss what has happened. And instantly, there was a row of support from RWBY and Weiss, both saying that they believe Yang, but not Blake. You know, I was expecting the Ice Queen to be the doubtful downer, but Blake, she actually has a decent reason to be cautious with her trust.
I had someone very dear to me change. At first they were accidents, then it was self-defense. Before long, even I began to think he was right.
A quick aside, this quote is obviously about Adam, but it strikes a chord with me on another piece of media I've been really enjoying, DC Comics' Injustice. I've been reading this for the last few weeks, catching up, and Blake pretty well described what happens to Superman in this comic. Basically, it's a what-if version of events. It's not in the main storyline, it's a what-if. Superman goes all-out dictator. And it very much describes Superman's fall from grace as he constantly tells himself and others that becoming a tyrant is for the good of the planet, to keep people safe. And this is what Adam must have been telling himself and Blake in RWBY. It's all for the revolution. I only do it for the protection of faunus kind, etc., etc. Although she has these scars in her past, Blake puts it aside and simply asks Yang to look her in the eye and say she didn't do it.
I saw him attack me, so I attacked back.
Okay, thank you.
A really emotional scene overall, and a couple of things to point out. One, Weiss does a full eye roll at one point that I felt added a whole lot of emotion to her lines. Also, I think this is the first time we've seen full-on tears when Yang started to cry. I thought it was a very nice touch, but with a more critical eye. I noticed they don't actually roll down her face like you think it would regular tears. It doesn't leave that almost like tear stain as it goes down your face. They're almost like raindrops immediately falling from her eyes. However, I did like how Yang's eyes watered up at first before the actual tears started falling when talking with Blake. Yang asks to be alone at this point. The guards, when we go outside, are gone. So this even puts into question more so whether or not she's under house arrest. I'm really questioning that now that I go further into the episode. She does stay in the room for the rest of the episode. So I'm going to assume it's either she's supposed to stay in her dorm room until the end of the festival, or she's just simply too embarrassed to leave after what happened.
She doing okay?
The crew of Team Juniper are concerned about Yang as well. And here we learn from RWBY that the apparent rumor is that Mercury and his team have gone back to Haven, which seems odd that all of them would leave when only Mercury needed to lay low. And it seems like Juniper might be having their own problems as the focus shifts over to Pyrrha. They try to cheer her up, leading into possibly the greatest Nora moment so far this volume. She goes into full wrestler mode, telling Pyrrha to quit her moping around. Hell, I half expected Nora to tell her to snap into a Slim Jim.
Oh yeah!
I gotta say, I'm gonna honestly be very disappointed if I don't see any bodybuilder Nora cosplays in the future. And on top of that, I want to get my hands on that Please Do Nothing to the Cook apron myself. Seems easy enough to make. Pink apron, some silk screening. I'd be down for that if I saw it on an Etsy or on the Rooster Teeth store. As Team Juniper head out for some air, we go back into Team Ruby's room where Crow has slipped in to see his niece.
Hey there, Firecracker.
Hey, Crow.
Firecracker. Such an uncle thing to call her. This scene, we have more Did You Do It's that I think we will still hear more of this volume as it goes on. Hell, there's a really good chance that Yang might never fully clear her name, even if it's found out that Mercury's injury was faked and she was tricked by Emerald. That's... in the real world? That's just how the media machine rolls. Guilty until proven innocent. And even if found innocent, the damage is already done to your reputation. But moving on, Yang changes the subject on Crow to her mother.
I saw my mom.
This is why she was staring at the photo Crow was showing off earlier this volume. When she saw her mother last volume on the train, she had a mask on, but her full battle outfit and sword matched what was in the picture. That's what gave her away. So even with Crow trying to block her face, Yang would still recognize her. We also learn that Raven seems to have a survival of the fittest type of mentality with a message she left for Yang.
She wanted me to tell you that she saved you once, but you shouldn't expect that kindness again.
Crow doesn't agree with Raven's view of the world, but they still trade info from time to time. One bit of info that he uses to motivate Yang into moving forward from her recent troubles: the possible location of her mother. Cinematography-wise, this scene introduced a few new camera angles that we haven't seen before. Obviously, they're trying to take advantage of what they can for this dorm room, even though it's a very small room. Also, the window shot. I'm kind of going backwards here because the window shot was at the beginning of the scene. That shot helps connect the building to the rest of Beacon, making it seem more like a real place. We leave Crow and Yang going over to Pyrrha, who is alone in the courtyard, dwelling on what she has learned on the Fall Maiden, and is really weighing heavily on her. I love how this scene kind of opens up, the different wide angles, and then this shot of this maple leaf gliding down, the camera ever so slightly swinging with the leaf. Then when it lands, its symbolism for fall, for autumn, triggers in Pyrrha's mind the image of amber. Very well done. All the shadows are soft. The lighting effects are present. If you look, you do see several beams of light, but there are no well-defined lines in the shadows. That, coupled with beautiful piano music playing in the background, it melts your heart as the events unfold. We see Jean knows something is bothering Pyrrha, and he puts his best foot forward to let her know that he cares for her and wants to help. He shares his story about how his parents didn't even believe in him when he went to Beacon, all along being the sly dog and holding her hand. A sign of affection that Pyrrha wasn't expecting right away, but appreciated nonetheless.
You're already doing it.
And the Arkos fans go wild! The problem is, though, that Pyrrha already had a plan in her mind, and suddenly it's not as clear as what she thought it was. This is something, going back to the real world, is very common among college students and young adults. You live your whole life saying, I'm going to be a lawyer or an astronaut. I'm going to help people as a social worker or a doctor. And suddenly, it all falls apart for one reason or another. And it's just like this scene. It's heartbreaking to watch as an outside party, not knowing what that person is thinking as their plans sort of shatter around them. And Jean is finding out firsthand that in these sort of situations, even saying the right thing could accidentally be the wrong thing.
Did I say something wrong?
Stop!
Holy crap, she just went full Magnus on him. That is just a testament to how much this decision is tearing her up inside, that she would actually lose control of her power like that. She runs off, leaving a very confused Jean behind.
What did I say?
On to something a bit more cheerful, we are treated to a beautiful wide shot from the port area with not only beacon in the background, but then the arena floating beside it. This is here to show that while RWBY is here, you gotta fly to get to the arena. That's what she's here for. She wants to see the next flight, so she's getting in line to be flown up to the arena. But before that, she runs into my favorite faunus, Velvet. During their conversation, Velvet confirms what I said earlier. The general public thinks Yang is guilty, and they're already saying nasty things about her. Though Velvet sympathizes with Yang. She is a soldier, she is a second-year student, so she's been out on the front lines, and concludes the same thought that Ironwood did earlier, that it was a stress-induced accident. But Velvet gives RWBY a bit of useful information while talking about this sort of stress-induced illumination. It's about what Coco saw during the fight with Emerald, that she saw Yatsuhashi when he really wasn't there. Another stress-induced hallucination? I think not! During this talk, Velvet puts her camera into the mystery box. The box that is supposed to hold her weapon. Is the camera her weapon, or part of it? The camera looks kind of steampunkish in comparison to other technology in Veil. Going back to the last volume, when we talked about Velvet in length, well, I talked about Velvet in length, she is based off of a favorite childhood story of mine, The Velveteen Rabbit. Now, The Velveteen Rabbit is about a bunch of toys, yada, 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 and the Velveteen Rabbit itself wants to be real. That's the quick, too long, didn't read of it. Now, in this story, there are a bunch of other toys with the Velveteen Rabbit. A lot of wind-up soldiers, wind-up tanks, and even a steam engine. With all that in mind, I now have a solid idea of what Velvet's weapon could be. I think the camera copies those she takes pictures of, and sort of, almost like a summon, rebuilds them as toys from the box, like some sort of magical 3D printer. I know there is so much more I could be talking about this episode, but I want to know what's in the box. What's in the box? It's either that or, I have a bit of an unhealthy obsession with bunny girls.
Oh, sorry.
After talking with Velvet, RWBY arrives finally at the arena and notices Emerald in the stands across from her. She shouldn't be there. RWBY herself said that she should have gone back with Mercury. It looks like RWBY is going to investigate, taking a shortcut through the back, when Mercury reveals himself. Already? Just last episode, you got told to hang low, stay out of sight. It's one episode later and you're already being that guy. You know what kind of guy it is? With that guitar playing in the background as he walks out. That's just saying we got a badass over here. They announced the fight over the speakers will be Penny versus Pyrrha, metal versus magnetism, which we know Penny is already weak to, as Mercury states as well. RWBY finally puts everything together, but she's unarmed. Oh my god! Not just one fight cliffhanger, but two at the same time! If Emerald's there, she's obviously there to mess with Pyrrha because they know Penny's a robot. So they're either going to first force Pyrrha to hurt Penny, or maybe Cinder thinks Penny is too valuable of an asset, combined with her virus, that is. That's an emotional roller coaster of an episode, with both Team RWBY and Team Juniper looking to have bleak outcomes, with Pyrrha maybe losing a part of herself if she eventually becomes a new Fall Maiden via or a transfer system, and Yang possibly running away to find her mother. Sheesh. Just a quick note about my unhealthy obsession with bunny girls. If we look at the credits, we get a very close look at Velvet's camera. Why does that camera have so much attention to detail if it wasn't obviously important? It's so important it gets its own production page. I can't wait. I just can't wait. There's just so much between Emerald, Mercury, RWBY, Penny, Pyrrha, Velvet. Thank you for watching. Before my head explodes, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And as always, this is just my opinion. I am not an expert. If you would like to know something, or know something that I don't know, just leave a comment below. And until next time, good night, everybody!